Hello folks, this is Ross Fleming of Fleming Recordings, Nelson, BC, speaking to you from the home of Mr. and Mrs. Draper, Jim Draper of New Denver, BC. This is part of our radio program, Tales of the Kootenays. Now, together with Mr. Draper, of course, is his good wife, and we will get both their stories as we proceed. Now, Jim, I imagine that we'd start with you. Where were you born?
The Isle of Wight.
The Isle of Wight. Well, now you're a long ways from home, from your first home. And what year would that be?
1886.
1886. And when did you come to Canada?
1912.
And where to?
New Denver.
Right straight to New Denver from the Isle of Wight. Well, now that's quite a big jump. What was the reason for you coming all that distance directly?
Well, I had a brother came out to New Denver, or rather to Nelson, the year before, having a letter from him on the previous Christmas. Rather appealed to me what he told me of the life that he was having. So I decided to come out to this country.
Mm-hmm. Were you married at that time?
No.
I see.
I met Mrs. Draper here in New Denver in 14.
We were married in 14.
Here we go.
Oh, that's okay. You were married in 14?
Right in this house.
Right in this house, eh? Well, that's just fine. Well, that's fine. Well, now I think we'll switch over to Mrs. Draper and find out where she was born. Where were you born, Mrs. Draper? And first of all, what was your maiden name?
My name was Alice Walker.
Alice Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you born?
I was born in Cumberland, Bootle, Cumberland, England.
Well, now you came quite a distance too. Now, what brought you to New Denver? What route did you take?
I took my route from Liverpool to Quebec and upon the train and went to Burton.
To Burton, BC?
On the Isle of
On
Wight.
our lakes.
Yes.
Well, now, did you have relatives there, or
Just a friend.
just a friend? I see.
Mm-hmm.
So you you had a hankering to know what Western Canada life was
Yeah.
like?
And I came to New Denver
I see.
April the 1st, 1913, and I consider I've been a fool ever since.
Oh, you have, eh? Well, now, you wouldn't want anybody else to say so.
No. I met Mr. Draper in New Denver, and we were married in 1914.
I see.
Right in the house where we lived.
Well, that's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that's just fine. That brings you two together. Now, what has been your occupation, Jim? Now, did I ask your full name? I don't believe I did I?
James.
James?
James.
Just James alone.
James, yeah.
Yeah, James Draper.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no other.
And what has been your occupation?
When I first came, I drove team.
Mm-hmm.
Up in the first year I worked around the town here, helped to clean up the rocks off the town site,
Uh-huh.
and also hauled all the material to the present jail. Then I went up to the Idaho Mines, drove a horse on the trail,
Mm-hmm.
which was altogether new to me, and I'm being definitely a greenhorn. I came in for lots of ribbing from the older timers. I spent from September to between the Christmas and New Year of 1912-13, when the slide ran. I had previously been doing some raw hiding. We were hauling ore with the raw hides, and
From what mines would it be?
from the Idaho and the Alamo mines.
Oh, yes. See?
And then the last day of the old year, 1912, there was a terrific snowstorm. I might say previous that fall they had built a new camp which was supposed to have been a safety camp, and they intended to work all winter, as it had never been known to a slide to have run in that particular place. But for some reason, this terrific storm, the slide did run that night, and there were 4 or 5 of us in this new building which had been built for the safety camp. The slide came down and when it filled in at the back, it went right over and almost took out the end of the building where the horses were.
Was this at the Alamo mine?
At the Alamo.
Alamo mine. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then I came down to the mill and looked after the horses for about a week or 10 days. The old chap that was foreman was a man named Springer. And he was well known, a real old-timer. In fact, I think Springer Creek was named after him. And he wanted me to go back up again after the weather cleared up. And it didn't look too good to me, so I left at that time. You want to stop it?
Okay.
I can give you more details.
Okay.
Well, this night that I was telling you, this is something that everyone doesn't know, but we were told, I came down to the mill, but the other men that were in the camp were told to wait there till the storm was all over and it was frozen hard, and they were to go back up to the other mine. But there was an Italian chap named Tony who was very eager to go to work, so he decided he'd strike out the next day to go back up to the camp. Unfortunately, he got within about 100 yards from the camp that he was trying to get, and he was caught with a slide. And they didn't find him again until the snow went latter part of June or early in July.
Wow.
But then I went to Nakusp, and I worked at a logging camp there. Drove team and logging camp for a while, which was certainly a great experience, as those days we were hauling logs on 11 sleighs with 11-foot bunks, and I'd never seen anything like it, leave alone drive a team. And my first trip, I was a pretty scared man.
Mm-hmm. You were coming down grade, I suppose.
Down grade, and we'd get started with our sleighs, and there were 3 men between where we started and we got down to the chute where we dumped our load. There were 3 men called sand monkeys.
Oh, yes.
And when the sleigh was running way too fast, we'd holler.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have hot sand and throw hot sand out onto the runners to check up.
Oh, I see. Did you have rough locks on at all?
No rough locks on the big sleighs. They were too big a load, and it was all downhill.
Yes, I see.
But I was rather fortunate. I've been accustomed with horses all my life, from a boy.
I see.
I didn't find horses driving any trouble at all, but I was sure scared on the top of this load. I stayed there, but the conditions at the camp were not what they might have been, not what they are today. There were 60 of us sleeping in one bunkhouse. The drying and all was done in that one bunkhouse. So I can quite understand why it was necessary to make changes for the improvement of the men working in the camp.
Yes, no doubt about it.
Then I came back to New Denver in February or March of 13 and went to work for an old-timer, one of the oldest old-timers, a man named Pete Angeron, who had contract for hauling the ore from the Van Roy and the Hewitt Mill. But he lived in Denver and also did the coal, was coal dealer, and of course those days freight, everything came in on the boat, everything had to be delivered, and I did considerable of that. And then in 27, previous to just what year it was, I'm not quite sure right now, that Mr. Pete Angeron died. His widow carried on the business for a couple of years, and then she decided to sell, and I took the business over in 27. That's when I first put in the trucks. There had been a truck, one or two trucks locally, but I hauled supplies. Used to come in, that was after the road was open between Spokane City and New Denver. It wasn't very good. Not nearly as it is today, although they tell us today it's not very good.
That's the man.
And
He died in 21.
well, that's good. But anyway, Con Cummings of Nelson used to bring freight up to New Denver, and I would take it on to Sandon after he arrived. I don't think he liked the idea of going to Sandon over the roads, for they were very narrow. But I was foolish, not knowing too much about trucks. I took a chance. And that was my first truck. I was very lucky. I never had any great mishaps. But I'm rather amused these days when I hear the people talk about our roads, how narrow they are to drive on. I remember on one occasion coming down from Three Forks, coming down from Sandon one night, and I met 17 cars and trucks going up, and I had to back for nearly all of them because I was on the outside.
Oh, yes.
But there's no occasion for that today. Although they'll tell you the roads are narrow, there's very few places it's not possible to meet one another.
Yes.
Well, then I also was the coal agent here. You stop still.
Okay.
I was a coal agent, and I sold the coal here, wood, and are there anything else of any great interest? I saw the town, the village.
Wooden sidewalk.
When there was only a narrow road between the boulders on the main street. I helped to use the team in hauling a great many of them boulders off. Each year there was a certain amount of work done. But today we're very proud to be incorporated as a village and have hard surface streets and mostly good sidewalks.
Well, you have held some important positions in the town too, haven't you?
Yes, I was a commissioner of the village for.
So I think that's one of the places where I met you first, or met you fairly often as through municipal meetings when I used to be a member of the city council in Nelson.
That's right. That's right. I was on the village for 16 years.
Wow.
In the last 7 years, I was the chairman.
Mm-hmm.
I had to relinquish. I accepted the position of stipendiary magistrate,
Mm-hmm.
and after the Act of 57, that it wasn't, one couldn't hold a chairman of the village or city and be a magistrate. So I thought I had given good service to the village,
Mm-hmm.
and during that time I saw many improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to say that while I'm not on the village, it's not been, the interest is being upheld, particularly by our chairman who followed me, which is Cliff Uphill, and he's devoted considerable of his time to the village and for the improvement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fine.
And
Well, I see where I'll have to watch my step when I'm passing through New Denver, because I don't want to come up before the beak.
well, knowing you, Ross, as long as I have,
Let's see.
I know it'd be something pretty serious if you do, and knowing the good that you've done in your day, I think I'll let you off pretty easy.
Well, all I'd want is the benefit of the doubt. Anyway,
Yeah.
well, that'd be fine, Jim. I'd better start calling you Your Honor or something before I quit.
Only when you're out before me.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. You don't insist on it
You
in
want,
private life.
My private life, I'm in the order. I've been in the order Knights of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
You might know.
Yes, that's fine.
Well, I joined the Knights of Phyllis about 38 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I went through all the offices. I had the honor of being elected Grand Chancellor. I visited all the lodges in British Columbia, where I met many friends who never forget me. As only recently I had a chap that I hadn't seen for 20 years called in to see me.
That's all.
And then I also was honored to be the Supreme Representative. I went to Springfield, Illinois, 1 year.
For what territory would that be, Jim? What territory?
That was the Supreme Lodge
yes,
of the whole domain of Canada and the United States.
Yes, but what I mean is, what particular territory did you represent?
Oh, British Columbia.
The British Columbia. Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, British Columbia.
That is quite a thing.
We are elected every 2 years. The Supreme Lodge is held, and every 2 years there is a new member elected to represent British Columbia.
Oh yes.
And I was fortunate to, and you go 2 years.
Yeah, I see.
I went to Springfield, and I also went to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, I see.
And otherwise, I've had a few misfortunes. I have seen a golf course built here. I unfortunately, not being a carpenter, I went out to help do some building one Sunday, which I should have been at church. But I went out on this particular Sunday, and I had the misfortune to have my leg broken. I was laid up for a year. So
Wow.
Mrs. Draper and I, the club, made us life members of the Slocan Golf Club.
Wow, that's very nice. It's a very nice course too. I've passed it several times.
Yeah, we're very proud of it.
I'm not a player, but I admire the landscape.
Oh yes, we're very, very proud of it, Ross. And then I suppose you've noticed, or you've been told about our Centennial Park.
No, I don't think I have.
Well, as you know, each community had to set up some project for the Centennial. I was chairman of the village at that time. We called together the leading folks of the village, set up committee and decided to set up a park, as we felt on the south side of Carpenter Creek there's quite a big space and a nice beach there, which had never been cleaned up, never been used.
Now, which direction is that from here?
Towards
south.
Silverton.
Oh, yes, I see.
And we've had several bees to fix it up. Last year we had quite a few folks camping down there, but we had no conveniences more than just they made themselves. This year, through the effort of the village and the Centennial Committee working with them, we've laid out a full-size vault diamond. We've built a kitchen big enough for folks to do their cooking in, and if the weather's bad, there's room for 4 or 5 tables to get under the roof. And we have conveniences set up as well, both for men and women. And also we are doing now, whether it be completed this year, we hope it will be, 2 bathing places for the people to change their clothes with, both for men and women. That we hope in the next, it may be a few years, before we have it all as we would like it, but in the few years to come we will have something that not only us, but the whole people of BC can be proud of as a centennial project.
Well, that's fine. And this has been practically done by volunteer labor.
Voluntary labor and the assistance that we receive from the centennial.
Yes, yes. And any financial assistance that you would get.
That was only, otherwise it's all been voluntary.
Yes, I see.
Tell him about the nice stuff that came in since you got
As we also, I might say, as most everyone knows, that we had the Japanese came in here in 42 when they were evacuated from the coast. There were a few who felt that we shouldn't go in, shouldn't encourage it, but no one, I'm safe to say, has had any regret of them coming here. And it's very, very gratifying to us old-timers who has been here, was here when they came in, saw what they had to put up with, which was crude for the first year they were here. Many of them went back to Japan, and to show their gratitude of the way they were treated here, they've sent some relics, souvenirs, you may say, from Japan for us to have exhibited down here or anywhere we wish to put them. Now, this year, they've sent 50 ornamental cherry trees.
Wow.
And then we've just planted them now, and we're hoping that they'll all come through. And the letter accompanying it was to show that it was a small token of their appreciation of the treatment they had while they were here. So it's very gratifying.
Yes, it is. Well, I have, as an outsider to your district, I have heard very good reports of the treatment of the Japanese and the cordial relations that existed between the Japanese and the citizens of these communities.
They have been very, very good, Ron.
Yes, it's a great pleasure to know that these people that were more or less forced here, not of their own choosing, and possibly not particularly deserving it in a lot of cases, would be so appreciative of the
hardships for them. And the hardships they had the first winter.
Yes.
We Occidentals could have never taken what they took the first winter here. They were living 6 and 8 in a small little 3-room cabin. quite a lot of the girls were working at the stores. As you understand, that there was a number of Japanese that were here, that the stores just thrived. And many of the girls got employment at the stores.
Sure.
Partly to be able to do business with their Japanese,
to
talk their language. And those girls would come out of those homes just like coming out of a bandbox. And yet, I know that that first winter their blankets would be froze to the side of the building.
Wow.
And we never had any complaints from them.
Wow.
No complaints whatever.
And you, there were no cases of misbehavior?
None.
None?
No.
Well, that is...
Not more than just
very
little minor infractions, but very few.
Well, that's fine. Well, I think that's a very interesting feature of New Denver's life.
It is.
Yes.
It is. And we have, since I've been here, we've had our town improved. The village took over the waterworks. We've a good water system, and new services are being laid, are prepared for our future, because we feel that with a better condition of the roads, only you have to get away from this gravel, like we have so much of it now. I, for myself, and I've spoken this quite often at different functions I've been to the Board of Trade, that this is the Silvery Slope.
Yes.
It's one of my pet names for it.
Well, it's...
And I do feel that as the roads improve, we will, in the next 5-10 years, perhaps more than that, we will have all kinds of people living through in the Slogan. I might say I've often taken keen interest at the Board of Trade and the Board of Trade. I've been a member, I suppose. I was with the original Board of Trade when they were first formed. I was off, then we went to funk for a while and started up again, and I've been a continual member ever since.
Well, there's no doubt but what you've been a good and worthy citizen and loyal to your beloved New Denver, and so it's very interesting to get this highlight of New Denver. I was just wondering how you found conditions when you first came here. Were they at that time? Of course, I suppose it was more or less getting stabilized. Would it be the town in 1914 when you came?
Yes. There weren't many married families here. Very few.
And they were employed mostly at the mines? At
the mines.
I see.
Practically all of the mines.
Yes.
Yes.
I see. And your principal mines were the Alamo and what other mines would there be?
Well, we had several mines. There was the Boson mine, and
the Standard.
The Standard, of course, that was at Silverton. But then we reaped the benefit. Most of our men were working at the Standard, and there was the Van Roy, and the Idaho, I said, and the...
I suppose you, of course, you would know Logan Logan McPhee, yes.
Oh, yes.
Of Caslow.
Very well.
And the Grant boys.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Of course, you likely know that the Grant boys, Alec and Dan and Jimmy, were cousins of the wife.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that now, Ross. I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I knew them very well. For the first years, we didn't make the contact as we did after the roads were in. We used to go up have special trains to Caslow and Sandon for hockey teams, with accompany the hockey teams. that we really had a, what shall I say, we had a better life amongst ourselves, shall I say, community life those days. We used to have entertainments and things of that kind, whereas today everyone has their car, or a great many of people have their cars. Weekends are away.
Well, as I've said before, we participated in our sports and amusements together in those days. We made our own amusements, and simple things had quite an appeal to us. We didn't crave for expensive luxuries and expensive cars, expensive radios or TVs or anything like that, because we didn't know anything about them.
No, and the first years I came here, we had a small electric plant, light plant, but if there was going to be a thunderstorm, the man that owned it, he'd close it down, and oftentimes it was built right in the canyon. Oftentimes in the winter it'd be froze up, we'd have no lights for quite a while.
I see.
And not too often, I mustn't make it look too bad, or you might wonder why I was staying here all the time, but there were one or two winters that we'd have to haul water because their water mains were frozen.
Oh, I see.
And we used to haul it with a horse and barrel,
Yes.
barrel on a go-devil, and take it round to the different places.
Well, you know, that's one of the points too that I've tried to bring out in these discussions of the early days, is to understand the primitive way that people had to live in those days, in comparison to the luxuries that we have at the present time.
Yes.
And the children, the school children, possibly have no other means of knowing than possibly through a program such as this.
That's right.
That such conditions ever existed.
That had happened here, and I'm very happy to say that it was right today. We have a modern little village for its size as anywhere.
Yes. Well, I want to ask you in a few minutes to give a little story about your sanitarium, or what do you call it? The New Denver.
Yes, I might say this is something perhaps of not too much interest to some people, but the fact that the evacuation of the Japanese and the anti-Cumberland, they were brought here. They were all taken to Hastings Park and were examined. And it was surprising the number who were affected with TB.
Wow.
When they were brought here, the man that was more or less responsible for bringing them in, that was Mr. Boltby of Vancouver. He was responsible for making the arrangements. He saw the need of a sanatorium. And with the men, the sanatorium was built by the Japanese carpenters and the men that came in 42. And during that time, there was endless number of cures. They went in, and many of them are working around in the district today who would have never known their condition had it not been they'd been brought together
Well, that's how.
in 1805.
Wow, that's.
Then, of course, they were, after the war, the commission had brought them here, and it was up to them to see that they were placed somewhere. There wasn't a living here. And there was arrangements made. They sent them all over the domain. And I'm happy to say that the majority of those that went east, that went some as far as Montreal, have established themselves in business which they would never have the opportunity had this not happened. On the other hand, many of those who were, well, shall I say, in business and, well, financially well-placed, they were the ones that really did suffer when they came in.
Yes.
But the majority that were here, when they went out, both the girls and the men, the families, they've established themselves all through the domain, and they've done very, very well.
Well, that's your report.
So Mrs. Draper and I, we get cards every Christmas. Some of them we just don't remember who they are, but we get them just the same.
Well, that's just fine.
Well, then they went out, and the older people are here, quite a few of them, and the building was closed for a number of years. And in the meantime, they built another building, what they call the pavilion. And it was a place for the patients who were not bedridden, could go out in the day, would sleep over there, and just eat their meals in at the regular dining room. Well, that has been kept open ever since. And it's been used for the elderly people for a number of years. For a while it was only just the Japanese, but I'm very happy to say we have 4 or 5 Occidentals living there in this same pavilion now.
I see.
And that's been carried on, but the other building was closed down until the Duke War children came here.
Oh, yes.
And from there on I don't need to. That's not history.
That's possibly current times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get very far, I notice the tape is getting down a bit. I think we better, although Mrs. Draper has been doing a little prompting and one thing and another here, I think we should get a little of her story too.
Well, my story, I love New Denver.
You which?
I love New
You
Denver.
live in Denver, that's fine.
And I have seen New Denver come along wonderful. When I first came, the main street was just a trail.
Mm-hmm.
Wooden sidewalks, cattle all over the town. And at night it wasn't safe to go out. You may fall on a cow
Yes, I see.
or a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
That I do think that people in New Denver have done wonderful to get this place
Mm-hmm.
to progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen wonderful changes.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
I was president of the hospital aid for 10 years. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the hospital board and I've seen the hospital just come up wonderful.
Were you trained as a nurse or anything?
No, oh no.
No, I see.
And to occupy my time in the summer, while school holidays are on and the churches have a vacation school,
Yes.
so I go forward and just go there and help them out,
Oh,
and
that's
I
great.
really enjoy it.
Oh, that's just fine.
So it's I have seen New Denver grow.
Mm-hmm.
That it was a pretty sad heart the first time I came here.
Mm-hmm.
I was already back for England, but I never got there.
Oh, I see.
So
You felt
that I certainly love it, and the people, whatever we try to do, we organize, we go ahead, and we make money,
Well, that's fine.
which is one good thing.
Well, I think life is more compact, more personal in a place this size than it is when you get into the bigger places.
Oh yes, and if we have our 24th of May celebrations or any celebration, the whole town
Yes.
is there.
Yeah, it's
And
very nice.
we certainly do have a wonderful time.
Oh, that's fine.
And I think it's so nice to see these small villages
Mm-hmm.
get along, go together, and improve.
Mm-hmm.
The buildings here have improved, the houses have been painted, and they all look lovely upon the hill, which was blank when I came here. It's just now like a little village,
Yes.
the houses that have been built.
Yes.
So I
Well, that's
sure
very
hope.
fine. Now, I think we're coming pretty close to the end, and before we do, I would like to thank you very, very much for allowing me to come into your home and showing me this hospitality. I was pretty sure that Jim wouldn't stop me at the door, but at the same time, I appreciate the fact that our friendship has existed for some time, and that we have an opportunity of renewing it. And thanks very much. Now, is there any little point that you would like to finish off with, Jim?
Well, then I can say that it's been very interesting to coming in this way, and I feel the importance of trying to have some records kept of early life in the Kootenays.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the fact that you came in. It's been my pleasure having you with us, as that I've known you a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, I don't know that there is. I could probably ramble on for quite a while, but
yes.
I think I've covered things very well.
Well, sometime when you might have, would like to dwell on any particular phase of it, why, I'll likely be up here again, and if there's any particular phase of it that you would like to expound upon, why, you just drop me a card, and we can always arrange something.
Yeah.
And,
well,
I hope that I'll be able to come up to some of your little celebrations here. Sometime you have your little celebrations, and I'd like to come up and possibly meet some more of your old-timers. And thanks very, very much again, and I do appreciate being allowed to come into your home and make this interview, which I know will be very interesting to the people of the Kootenays, as you are an integral part of it. Thanks very much.